And joining the conversation tonight is retired Marine Corps intelligence officer Lieutenant Colonel Hal Kempfer. Thanks for joining us once again. It's good to see you. Lind went to Afghanistan in 2000 to help the Taliban. U.S. forces captured him after the September 11th attacks. But let's start first with the question Americans everywhere are asking tonight. Why is Lind being released early, especially given the reports that he still holds violent extremist views?
Well, Eric, the bottom line is he's met the requirements in the federal system. The Bureau of Prisons pretty much has a rule that if you serve 85% of your sentence with good behavior, and apparently he has, that they will normally let you out on parole. Now, his parole is pretty strict parole, probably more strict than others. One of the big things they're watching is his online activity. They're going to be looking at any sort of electronic devices, anything where he can connect to the internet to find out if he's talking to anyone, if he's looking at radical or extremist websites or any sorts of communication which would be tied to violent extremism, violent jihadist views, or anything like that. Obviously, he's a practicing Muslim. His Muslim faith, he can practice that. But if he's looking at things like ISIS websites or ISIS, social media postings or something tied to jihadist beliefs, then they're going to pretty much crack down, probably stick him back in, not only stick him back in prison, but there was some discussion today that depending on what he does, there could be new charges added on him.
And back in 2015, Lind sent handwritten letters to an NBC affiliate in Los Angeles praising the Islamic State. At the time he wrote, quote, "The Islamic State is clearly very sincere and serious about fulfilling the long-neglected religious obligation to establish a caliphate through armed struggle, which is the only correct method. They are doing a spectacular job." Now, that letter in mind, is that taken into consideration when you talk about being released early for good behavior?
Well, they're looking at that and they're trying to figure out what he means. Now, one of the things he said when he was captured back in December of 2001 is he would use the term Islamic State. Islamic State and caliphate are kind of interchangeable terms. And the goal of al-Qaeda and the goal of a lot of jihadist type groups, to include the Taliban, is to create an Islamic State or emirates under a larger Islamic State. And that's been kind of their modus operandi. So when he says that, it has different meanings. Of course, in this case, he's obviously referring to ISIS. I know that they had to have taken this into consideration, but you have to remember, Federal Bureau of Prisons also has other violent extremists like neo-Nazis and white supremacists and anti-government extremists and others. So it's not the first time they've had to deal with a violent extremist. He's been locked up in Colorado at a maximum security prison for a long time. They've had a lot of chances to observe him. I think they're going to be watching him very closely, but I don't think that they would be doing what they're doing without some due diligence involved.
All right. Hal Kempfer, we thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you being with us tonight.
Thank you.